council lady. Clerk, what's up, man? How y'all? Hey, Ms. Pope. Uh-oh, look who's in the room today. Look who's in the room today. The day just got more interesting. What road we got? We got Muni Court. Oakar? Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought. Everybody sleeping in today? No one's kept y'all all night. Gonna sit in right next to Miss Hudson so she can gavel them out and start talking to them. I know I said it. I had a community meeting. I would have been here and I was like, oh, this is crazy. I did. I said, man. Hold on, listen. Hold on.
Threw that meeting together real quick, yeah.
I said, Casey a message. I just said, morning. Today is Thursday, February 19th, 2026. This Committee of Finance, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion is called to order. Madam Clerk, call the roll. Here.
Present.
Thank you. We're going to move a little bit out of order today, and I do want to make an announcement that a couple of us are going to have to go to an announcement that is being made. So we're going to probably step out probably around 10:15 or about 10:15 or so. So please excuse our absences. In my absence, I am turning over the gavel today to the majority whip for Cleveland City Council, Councilman Charles Slife. And I want to let you know the order that we're going to go into. We're going to go with Cleveland Municipal Court, Judicial Vision. Then we're going to go to Housing Court. And then we're going to come back, if we could, to the clerk. And once again, we're going to ask all of the council members to abide by 10 minutes each. If you do not have any questions, or if a question has already been asked, please make sure you stay within your 10-minute time period. Once again, it's going to be Municipal Court first, because I understand that they do have a docket that many of them have to get to this afternoon. Then it's going to go to the Housing Division with Judge Wilshire. Then we're going to come back to the Clerk of Courts. So does everybody have that And Inez, do you have that role in case anybody asks? And then we're going to the rest of the groups, okay? That being said, I'm gonna turn over the gavel to my colleague, Majority Whip Charlie Slight.
All right, thank you, Council President. And we will begin. Staff, could you please read in Cleveland Municipal Court Judicial Division while Administrative and Presiding Judge Okar and her team come forward.
Page 102, Cleveland Municipal Court, Judicial Division, Administrative and Presiding Judge Ann Oeker. Page 105, 2025 unaudited salaries, $13,496,276. 2026 budgeted, $14,350,368. Page 106, 2025 unaudited total expenditures, $24,105,461. 2026 budgeted, $26,527,985. Page 108, staffing levels 2025, 211. 2026 budgeted, 256. Chairman.
Thank you. And as we kick this off, to remind ourselves, but also I think for the benefit of the listening public, there's a couple different aspects of the budget where I would argue that there's less fluidity than others as it comes to reconciliation. Things like the DOJ, the airport, and in the case of the Cleveland Municipal Court, people who are involved in the criminal justice system do have a right to due process. So this is an area we are obligated to fund the municipal court and to fund them to the degree that they are able to provide the services they provide in a timely manner. But this is also, it's not very frequent that the courts are before us, so it's good to see all of you. Before I turn it over to Judge Okar, are there any comments from the CFO that I would, if you want to kick it off?
Through the chair to the councilman, no, I don't have any comments on the courts.
Thank you. And as a couple people walked in, we are on Cleveland Municipal Court Judicial Division, which begins on page 104 of your binder. Judge Okar, it's good to see you. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you. Good to see you as well.
The show's yours, and then
Okay.
we will ask away when you are done with your comments.
Okay. Good morning to the chair and to the members of council. I think I know most of you. My name is Judge Ann Claire Okar, and I'm pleased to present to you as the newly elected and administrative and presiding judge of the Cleveland Municipal Court. Sitting at the table with me are my court administrator, Michael Negre, and finance director, Michelle Kenny. Also present today are deputy court administrators, Tracy Gonzalez and Stephanie Pope-Early, IT Director John Stanley, Pretrial Service Director Ron Hampton, and Judge Jeffrey Johnson. I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge and thank Judge Michelle Early for her long-standing service as our court's administrative and presiding judge. As most of you know, her contributions in this role were very significant. Over the last 9 years, she guided our court through many accomplishments and challenges, including the COVID pandemic, a new computer system, and the latest cybersecurity breach. We're grateful for her service, and I have some big shoes to fill. Today, I would like to begin by thanking Cleveland City Council for your continued support. We pride ourselves on our innovation and on being a problem-solving court, but this is only made possible because of this body. Because of you, we are able to lead in bail reform, pretrial services, specialized dockets, specialized responses to domestic violence, and many other innovative programs. In this and in many other regards throughout the county and the state, you can take pride in knowing that the Cleveland Municipal Court is a recognized leader. We, at the same time, recognize our obligation to cautiously shepherd the funds entrusted to us by the taxpayers. We have and we will continue to live within the budget that this body has provided to us. Holding individuals accountable is only the starting point of our service. In order to provide true justice, we look for the underlying causes of crime and work to provide solutions. By doing so, we prevent cycles of reoffending. Individuals who appear before the court are given the opportunity to make meaningful and lasting changes. Because of your continued support, our court is able to provide these opportunities. This bold and pioneering view of the criminal justice system helps not only the offenders, but victims and society as a whole. Over the past year, we have had several new developments. In just the past 2 months, we have welcomed 3 new judges to the court's general Division, Judge Brett E. Horton, Judge Kalila A. Lawson, and Judge Insun J. Loving. We look forward to working alongside these new judges and colleagues. As you know, in the spring of 2025, the court experienced a ransomware attack that shut down our IT systems for several weeks. Since then, with significant help from the city, we invested considerably in our IT security system improvements. Because of these investments, we believe that our system is safer than ever before. Earlier in 2025, we unveiled our newly renovated jury lounge, which provides increased seating, updated furnishings, and student art donated by the Cleveland School of Arts. During the unveiling, we also premiered a short animated video entitled Educating Youth About Ohio's First Municipal Court. The video was funded by a $5,000 grant from the America 250 Ohio Commission, which was received by our court. This video will be used to educate the youth about our court history and will be shown during court field trips to the court. We hope to continue and expand that program as well. The video was narrated by our former judge and colleague Charles Patton and Judge Michelle Early. Within the past year, 3 of our specialized dockets have come under new leadership. Judge Michelle Early now presides over our drug court, Judge Jeffrey Johnson presides over our Veterans Treatment Court, and Judge Sidney Strickland-Saffold presides over our human trafficking docket. In addition, Judge Suzanne Sweeney continues to preside over our mental health docket. We look forward to watching these dockets thrive while once again addressing the root problems bringing individuals into our courtrooms. We're proud to announce that this past December, staff interpreter Kotar Sniba earned Certified Arabic Interpreter Certification. Kotar is the first Ohio interpreter to pass the Arabic certification exam. Congratulations to her, and we are proud to have her on our staff. As a court, we continue to look for and provide opportunities to engage with the public. Such engagements are crucial to helping the public's view of the criminal justice system, and we believe we're at a critical point in history in doing so. This past December, Cleveland Municipal Court staff organized Operation Snapback, where court employees donated much-needed clothing and food to families served by the Providence House Cleveland. On Friday, January 30th, Cleveland Municipal Court participated in Justice Unlock, an event offering legal help and community resources to people impacted by past convictions. The event was well attended, and several of our judges and staff were on hand to help answer questions. We provided much-needed face time and also new court materials, some of which we've been handing out here today, and you have before you. Also, once again this year, we have continued our tradition of marrying couples on Valentine's Day. This year was even more special because it landed on a Saturday. With that, several judges and many staff offered their time to make this event a success. 34 couples were married right here in City Hall Rotunda. In closing, Cleveland Municipal Court continues to be an efficient and effective institution. We work hard to deliver on our core functions while seeking innovative and meaningful solutions. I'm proud to report to you that we do more than just process cases. We work to build trust, promote safety, reinforce dignity, and ultimately strengthen the community as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor. And I do have a couple questions, but as a courtesy, because I know he has to step out, I want to turn it over to Councilman Polensek. I also want to acknowledge that Judge Horton stepped in while you were speaking. So welcome, Judge, and congratulations on your election. Councilman Polensek.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, honorable colleagues, and to Judge Okar and to all your team that is here. I certainly appreciate everything. I want to acknowledge a couple constituents, Stephanie Pope, Michelle Kenny, and I also want to recognize the fact that Judge Lawson's mom and dad are very active in our community, so I appreciate that, and all the other members of the muni court that have taken the time. One of the things I wanted to stress, and I'm hoping that to get across to the judges, that I know they've got a lot of responsibilities. I know they have a lot of things on their plate, but I'm hoping that more and more of them can stop into our neighborhood organizations, our ward clubs, et cetera, to build that kind of partnership and that kind of relationship that we need. It's important that people get to know who the judges are, understand what muni court's all about, because I think there's a great confusion with a lot of our citizens, what muni court actually does versus common pleas. So again, I want to just say thank you to you for your engagement, for your staff, and for your team members that have been engaged in my own community. I'm heading across the hall along with the council president. So again, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you, Councilman Plensick, and Councilman Casey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, congratulations, Judge, on the AJPJ job. I'm sure you're going to do a great job. Also, to Mike Negre, congratulations on your new position with the court as well. Mr. Chairman, to the judge, your staffing levels, are they at a level that will allow the court to properly function?
We are, yes.
Okay. And then if we can, you probably do not know the answer to this, but can you tell us how many cases came before the court in 2025?
I don't have the
Okay.
exact number.
All right.
I know there was a significant increase from 2024.
Okay. I didn't think you would have it, but if we could just put that down. And then if you could get to us, Mr. Chairman, to the judge, I'm sure you don't know this either, the total amount of dollars that the court issued in fines and court costs last year. I've always had under revenues on page 106, I don't believe that the court is a revenue making entity, right? That's it's
Right.
right. So we've had this discussion for the last 12 years, at least I have, right? On the court is not a revenue generating. They issue the fines, the court costs, but they don't collect the fines and court
Correct.
costs. So if you could just let us know, if you could, how much in fines and court costs the court has issued in 2025. And again, Mr. Chairman, I have to go across the hall as well, but congratulations. I think the world of Cleveland Muni Court, you know that, I'm a former employee over there, and I think you guys are the first touch in the judicial system to a lot of individuals, and not only in the sentencing criminality aspect of the court, but with all of the specialty dockets and the help that you guys provide individuals who come through the court. You should be commended for that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations, Judge.
Councilman.
Okay. Thank you. Were there any other council members who were needing to go across the hall? No, okay. So I will jump back in with my questions then. For the sake of our, just to kind of level set, to probably Ms. Kenny, the difference between revenues here and any revenues in the clerk of court's budget, could you kind of differentiate where, what revenues are coming into the court and the general fund and where might be going under the clerk's budget?
Yes, if you look at, to the chair, if you look at the revenue section, if you see fines, forfeitures, and settlements, those come from the clerk. We are the miscellaneous part, and then interest earnings and investment income is where money sits into the city, and we earn interest on that, and that's what the city has in there. So the difference with us, again, is fines, forfeitures, and settlements come through the clerk's office, and we are miscellaneous revenue.
Thank you for that. And within this budget, there does seem to be some annual fluctuation in what those miscellaneous revenues are. I did speak about it a little bit with the judge last evening, and it sounds like it might be something about the timing of receipt of dollars from different places. But could you explain, last year we budgeted less than $1 million, but we ended up receiving nearly $3 million, and then we're back down to budgeting around $1 million again. Could you kind of explain what those miscellaneous revenues are and what that fluctuation is, just so we know?
Sure can. We have an annual contract with our county public defender's office, and with that contract, we get reimbursed for funds that we spend on that contract. So that contract is tied to the general fund, and the state reimburses the public defender's office, and in turn, the public defender's office reimburses us. So that miscellaneous income is payments coming in through the public defender's office through the state of Ohio. So we get about 82% of what we spend for that public defender's contract back to the city.
Okay, thank you. Another budgetary question. City Hall also went through a bit of an IT issue last year. We weren't calling it a hack, though. It wasn't a hack. It wasn't, guys. It wasn't.
I called it a breach.
It was a breach. No, we're not saying breach. Within this budget, are there different aspects that speak to what you had said, Judge Okar, about the efforts that have gone into improving the IT infrastructure and ensuring that continuity moving forward?
For last year, no, it is not. For the breach, as
As some would
Judge
say.
Okar stated. The funding that was used for that, we have a specialized docket fund that we use, and we work with the city's IT department to help us get it back together. So no funds were spent in the general fund in regards to that, so everything was spent out of our specialized docket fund, which is not part of the general fund.
Understood. And hopefully we don't go through that again. A question for you, Judge Okar, and I was also going to ask for some of the data that Councilman Casey asked for. And this is maybe anecdotal, but I wondered if it's something you would have a comment on. I, along with some other council members, have begun receiving some concerns from businesses about shoplifting, and I am at the what they characterize as really hassles in being able to get someone arrested and prosecuted for shoplifting. Obviously, you wouldn't be involved in the arresting and charging, but I'm wondering if you could kind of characterize where we're seeing shoplifting come through the municipal court. Businesses would have us believe that this is a bit of a crisis and something that we really need to get a hold of, but it's hearsay, so I'm just looking for some more information.
I mean, I could only speak to what I've seen on my own dockets, and that has actually been an increase in theft charges charged. So I've actually been, I mean, I hate to use the word happy, but when I first started on the bench 8 years ago, I rarely saw any theft from a Walmart or Target or any of the local businesses. And recently I have noticed, specifically when I'm in the arraignment bench, that we are seeing an increase. So I'm hoping that some of the concerns that were voiced by some of the judges, that those charges were not coming through the court, has been heard, and those charges are starting to filter in, and hopefully will, make sure we stop the people that are stealing, because as we all know, that causes businesses to leave the city when they don't feel adequately protected, and also raises the cost to the rest of us who do pay for the goods. So that's one of the things we focus on when we do have shoplifters in our shoplifter intervention class, is to hopefully explain that information to the first-time defendants, explaining why this is such a bad crime.
Thank you, and you got to my the root of the question. Is I have heard from businesses, which it could be overinflated certainly, but a concern that this was beginning to affect their ability or willingness to operate in the city of Cleveland, and in a city where so much has left and so much disinvestment has occurred. I wouldn't want that to be continued moving forward. My final comment is really a thank you to you. If my colleagues aren't aware, Judge Okar had mentioned field trips for about, since really the end of COVID, Judge Okar and I have been partnering on a city government field trip. It is really catered to like 4th and 5th graders, and it's something that we really enjoy, and we'd love to see more at scale, but I think it would require more than just the two of us, even though I think I'd love to do it every day. But we have 4th graders come in with a curriculum to City Hall. They come into the council chamber. They all are assigned parts. I wrote some fake legislation I introduced on charging a fee to use a playground, and the kids debated. They voted down. But we have a good public commenter that really is in favor of it because these kids are getting a free ride. And then they go across the street to the Justice Center, and in the courtroom, similarly, they have a script, and a student who's in on it is charged with failure to complete homework. And there's a jury trial. The teachers are the witnesses. They're usually found guilty, but it's a fun way for kids to kind of learn about, apply the curriculum they get about government at the local level. And if there's anyone that's interested in either tagging along for one of these field trips, we have a couple scheduled for this between now and May, or even doing your own. I think it'd be a great thing to be able to help bring more Cleveland school children into City Hall, into the Justice Center to learn more. And really credit goes to you, Judge Okar, because you brought this idea to me. So thank you for your advocacy on all of that.
Welcome. It's a really fun time if you know anybody, I'm sure most of the judges would be glad to do this. We could have several going at a time, and it's really fun. The kids really, really enjoy it. I will say that they also take a tour of the police museum, and most of the thank you cards I get are about the robot in the police museum and not about Councilman Slifer I. But they do really have a good time.
All right, that is all that I have. I will turn it over to Councilman Harsh, and then I have Conwell and Davis. Is there anyone else?
Thank you, Mr.
Councilman
Chair.
Harsh.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will be brief, but I've also sat in on those legislative sessions with the kids. The one I sat in on, they actually did pass the legislation charging entry into the playgrounds. I think there was something in the air that day. So you never know how they're going to go. But thank you for being here, Judge and the other members of the court. Thank you for coming over. I know you all have terribly busy days. And thank you for accommodating our change in schedule. Through the chair, my only real question pertains to your budgetary process itself. I'm used to the departments here at City Hall, and I know how they function. They submit their budget to the mayor's team, who then reviews their departmental budgets. Maybe they work on some revisions or whatever, but when it comes to us, everybody in the administration has agreed to the budget. What is the process between the courts and the administration? Because you are in the same book. It's been formatted, it's been put together. What is the process between your internal budget, the administration's review, and then it getting to us, just for general purposes,
So I'm
through
going
the
to
chair?
kick that to our finance director, Ms. Kenny, to explain that further, since
Okay.
she has the direct knowledge.
To the chair, to the councilman, it's the same. So what it is that we do is every September, we submit our budget to the city's finance director, department, OBM. They review it, and then we meet with them to go over any adjustments that may or may not need to be changed, but we do sit with them and have a conversation with them. So since we are part of the general fund, we still follow the same process as other city departments. So we meet directly with the finance department in order to make sure the budget fits, it balances with all of the other departments for the city. So we still follow the same process.
Yeah.
But we meet directly with the finance director. We just don't come to council for it because the director of finance is awesome as far as getting us together.
Okay, and through the chair, that happens in the same September or October timeframe as the rest of the departments at the city. Everybody's kind of working on it at the same time.
To the chair, to the councilman, yes.
Okay, I understand. I don't have a whole lot of other questions. It's fascinating to me to be inside the guts of government because we have three distinct branches of government, but we do have to finance each other. So I will not argue with your budget or your needs. It's your job to run the courts, not mine. Thank you for being in here today, and I appreciate your time. All set.
Thank you, Councilman.
Councilman Conwell.
McKinney, you are the controller, is that correct? Are you the accountant, controller? We call you what?
To the chair, to the councilman, I am considered the deputy bailiff finance director for Cleveland Municipal Court Judicial Division.
Okay, finance director. And you constantly, you talk with our controller or with finance quarterly, or how do you monitor and control the dollars and resources that go through the municipal judges? And how do you keep us on track? Do you know where we're at with our spending?
Oh, to the chair, to the councilman, we monitor all of the time. We have, I don't know, daily, sometimes weekly conversations in regards to things that need to get processed with the purchasing department, the law department, the finance director's department, in order to process contracts, pay invoices, and things like that, and also make deposits. So it's a weekly, daily communication. So that's how we communicate to make sure that we're on track. The city issues a monthly report to all constituents who handle the budget for each of the departments. So I monitor that and then compare it to the processes that we have done on our side to make sure we're all on the same page, and we are.
Same page?
Yes.
And you, here's another question on here. I was looking at your office supplies, director, and I saw it in here for $25,000 last year. I'm glad it's down to $5,000 this year. And what made that drop? Would you put it in just in time, or you?
Could you let me know what
Just-
item you're speaking of?
I'm trying to find it. I saw it in here about the 20. It was
To the chair, to
25.
the council,
The furniture?
Yeah, the furniture. and office supplies was at 25,000. You have it at $5,000 this year. And I put an X by it. But anyway, trust me, it's at $5,000. That's a good thing. So what did you do? You put some of it in just in time, and how does that
For
work?
the office, to the chair, to the council, for the office furniture and equipment, just-in-time supplies is when we order different supplies, across pens, papers, toner, and things like that.
Office
Office
supplies.
furniture and equipment, that is when we want to upgrade the chairs, desk, and things like that, because we had a lot of old materials at the court,
Right.
old 20-something years old. And so Judge Early wanted to update that, so that's what we did for our departments. So we ordered chairs.
I have no problem with it. Do you guys have a preventive maintenance program in there as well? To do preventive maintenance through the chair to director?
To the chair, to the council, we review things that we have coming in to make sure everything is up to par. So we do have a office person that makes sure that departments have what they need to make sure we can function, do our day-to-day work.
That's a good thing. And on page 102, when you have failure to appear rate reduced from 42% to 21%, does that save us money? I mean, that's efficient through the chair. Is that correlated? Do you look at how that saves us money?
To the chair, to the councilman, the failure to appear rate that's been a success from using our pretrial service department, which we put into place about 7 or 8 years ago, and that putting someone on pretrial supervision has helped have a significant, as you can see, decrease in having individuals not appear. I'm not sure that it affects money, really.
Doesn't affect the money?
To the chair, to the council, no.
It just ensures their presence at their court dates. So, ensuring accountability and closing out our cases in a timely manner.
Good, that's good. I always look at dollars. Let me ask you this question about Bracknell. Are they starting to send you more people that they pull over for traffic violations, that my residents from Glenville and Collinwood, when they go through Bracknell, I met with the mayor there, and he said he's going to start sending them down to you guys. Are they starting to do that more instead of having a mayor's court, or do we still have a mayor's court in Bracknell?
To the chair, to the council, my understanding is there still is a mayor's court in Bracknell.
It is?
I'm not 100% sure, though. Judge Early handles our Bracknell docket. I could get you the numbers to see if there's been an increase in those over the last year. I'm situated next to her. I haven't seen a very large increase, but again, I'm not privy to that information since she's the judge that sits on that docket exclusively.
I need to see that through the chair.
Sure.
94% of the people that goes through there that's given tickets, they look like I do. And I don't like that at all. And the people from Glenville have to go around Bracknell. I met last year with the new mayor, Keith Benjamin, and we discussed that, and he said he's going to start sending more people to your court. When you give 94% of the tickets to my people, you create barriers to employment. And some of the people lose their driver's license. And when they lose their driver's license and their driver privileges, they can't take care of their families. And that's not good at all. And why would you have it that high? So I need to know that. And I like Keith, but I need to check up on that. Let me know.
I will.
Let me know that.
To the
I
chair,
wanna
to the
talk
council,
with
I
you.
will. And driving under suspension is something we handle a large amount of all of our dockets are driving under suspension. And I think that each of us judges work hard to help people obtain driving privileges. There's lots of ways to obtain driving privileges now with payment plans, and just recently they lowered some of the reinstatement fees. The governor did actually, and so there's lots of avenues for driving privileges because I think as a court we recognize what a burden it is to not have a driver's license, specifically in a city like Cleveland.
Right. It's a burden, and it's correlated to employment as well. And through the chair, it creates barriers to employment. And then when people lose their driver's license, it's a higher probability the family will break up because they need work. And look at that. And look at, now I know in University Circle it was at 93% there as well. But they give, Tom give warning tickets and to try to help out. You got to keep people working. You have to look at judicial inequality. That means a lot to me.
Chair to the council, absolutely.
That's a great bill. So, I mean, I'll stop by or I'll reach out to Judge Early. Should I call Judge Early or should you have someone to reach out to me? What you thinking?
To
Through
the
the
chair,
chair.
to the councilman, I can have Judge Early reach out to you with regard to the numbers. We could get you those.
All right. She know I had a fit about that last year, and we talked about it. And she said, "I know Kevin did. It's not right. It's not fair. I mean, you got families, and we have a poor city, and I mean, how you going to put 94% of the people receiving tickets look like me? Other people that travel through there, they break the law as well. That's important. Okay, now this special docket fund, you get that from your dockets or what? How did that go? And who monitor and control that fund? And would you zero it out in the end and send it back over to the general fund in the end, or what? What you do with that money?
Chair to the council, I'm going to refer that one back to Ms. Kenny.
To the chair, to the council, it is funds that are collected through our clerk of court's office, so they make the deposit. That fund sits there because there is a hard revised code in which we have to follow in the use of those funds. So we follow that strictly because we don't want to be any type of violations. So that fund sits, and according to the Ohio Revised Code, that fund sits with the courts, and it does not go back to the general fund, but we can use it according to how the revised code allows us to use it.
You got systems in place and you use it for what through the chair?
We use it for specialized programs. For instance, like we talked about earlier in regards to the breach, we were able to use it to update our IT systems and things like that. So special programs that we need to happen on an emergency basis, so yes.
Chair, I don't know anything about this government program. They don't talk about it in Glenville, or I don't hear it on the east side at all through the chair to the administrative judge. And I don't know anything about that.
Chair to the councilman, which government
Like you mentioned and Councilmember Slife mentioned about visiting schools so children can have an up-close view on what's going on in government.
Yeah, fourth grade, I think, is where the curriculum is for government. And so we specifically I started reaching out, and it happened that I had children that were approximately that age, and I knew some teachers that age, and I said, hey, would anyone want to do a field trip to the court? I wanted to open up the court to have field trips. So it's kind of been, right before COVID, I actually met with during our mock trial program, the social studies chair for the City of Cleveland's education was at the court, and I met with her and sat down to try and get a citywide program going.
Right.
And then about a month later, COVID happened, and so the whole program, our whole meeting even got canceled, because it does have to, some of the planning has to start a little early because they have to put busing in place and such to get the children downtown. And so after COVID, just in the last couple years, we've been we kind of tried to, try out the program and see if it worked, having kids shuffle from City Hall to the court, and we've done it, I don't know, maybe 6 times or so.
Give or take.
It's open to all councilmen. I think, again, prior to COVID, we had kind of discussed, having other council people involved, and then we just hadn't really got it completely rolling. But that was something Councilman Slife and I just talked about just 2 weeks ago, about how we sit down with the city education department and try and expand this program and maybe have it in the hopper for any school that wants to do it. My understanding is they bid, kind of by seniority on field trips, and so have it as a field trip that's accessible to all the teachers across the city.
That's your objective through the
That's
chair.
the objective, yes.
And I'll add to that. It could be as simple as me providing to whoever would request it the documents we use to kind of what the curriculum is. In building this out with the help of Chuck Moxerin, our archivist, it became clear that back in the 50s there was a pretty well-established curriculum for students. There's actually a form called the legislative choo-choo that it explains the kids.
Back in the
Yeah.
50s.
I've aged well. But to the point is that like we maybe fell off of making this a part of school curriculums when that had been in the past, so it's something we could reestablish. But I'd be happy to share with you, and it's pretty easily put together, and the kids have a lot of fun. So.
Good idea, because here's the thing when I look about with children. Young people have to see success every single day so that they know what they could end up becoming. And when they see the legislative approach, the executive approach, and as well as the judicial approach, some of the children dream to be judges, which is very, very good profession, as well as a legislator. And but if they don't see that, your program is a great program, and that's why I was reaching out to you about the question about it, because I need it in my neighborhood as well. I need my children to see success every single day, you know, and they can't just see. See, here's the problem also, even children see, when they see the police, they see domestic violence in their household, or they see other bad outcome measures. But they need to see judges. It's not people that's putting their mommy and daddies in jail, but they need to see that they can become a profession in that.
The chair to the council, and that is the letters that are about us and are not about the robots usually are about maybe someday I want to be a judge and
Right.
or a prosecutor or a defense attorney, and it's just a great way to have children see both the legislative branch and the judicial branch in a positive light. And it's been a lot of fun, and I hope to expand it. I'd love to have, everyone come down or make it a regular once-a-month program throughout the city. It's been quite sporadic at this point. Like, I don't even know if we've done it this school year.
Not yet, no.
It's been kind of sporadic. We haven't been able to get the wheels kind of turning on it. And some of that is with funding, and obviously COVID really slowed everything. But now that field trips are starting back up in the schools again, we're hoping to get this rolling.
And Councilman, I'll let you wrap up where you are at time, but go ahead if you want.
Maybe you talk with Sherry Ullery and Councilman, so we could look at that. And you know what? Here's something that you're missing. When you look at judges, when you look at the judicial approach, you can't just look at judges. You have to look at one like Director McKinney here. Because in there you see judges, but you have other systems and support bases. You have magistrates, you have accounting, you have purchasing and procurement. You have all these things that's in this book here. There's honorable professions. They can do that as well in there, and not just look at that front part of the judicial approach.
To the chair, to the council, I agree.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman Conwell. I have Davis, Starr, and House Jones. Councilman Davis.
Thank you, Chair, through the chair to Judge O'Carr. Hello, it's great to see you again.
You
It's great to be here at the table with you. And just so folks know, I do represent Ohio City, where Judge O'Carr's family has an incredible decades-long history of. I felt like you were going to interject. I'm sorry, but your family shadow is long in my neighborhoods, and it's great to be in a seat that your family used to hold. So, really a privilege and an honor. My only real question is I want to double down on what my colleague Councilman Conwell said about the failure to appear rate. That's an astonishing reduction. It's a 50% reduction. For what it's worth, I did a quick Google. New York City, America's richest and biggest and safest city, has a 16% failure to appear rate. So we're in spitting distance. That's really impressive. Can you give me a sense of the timeline? 42 was when to 21? And just really, like, I can name a couple other judicial bodies in this region who I think would love to have a failure to appear rate that low. What's your secret? What went right?
Well, thank you to the chair, to the councilman. Thank you. And Ohio City is considered, our home base. My father was born there. Obviously, my aunt lived there for her whole life. But our secret is our pretrial service department, which we established about 7 or 8 years ago, right actually as I was coming on the bench. And it really was Judge Charles Patton, who just retired last year. This was kind of his baby. He was very adamant about developing this entire department of our court. And that is, as someone comes in, especially with a domestic violence or several OVIs or anything that it maybe looks like a little bit more at risk, the judges at that point have the opportunity to place that individual on pretrial supervision. Or maybe it might not even be a charge that's at risk, but they have several criminal trespasses and many failures to appear. So we might put them on pretrial services. It's a contact for them with the court while their case is pending. So we contract with Oriana House. We can order a drug assessment. We can order mental health assessment. We can order a SCRAM bracelet, which will monitor intake on an individual while they're out in the community. It's a way for us to be able to put somebody out on a personal bond, so not having to hold them in jail, but also helping to ensure their reappearance, as that's one of the objectives of a bond, is to have someone reappear. So our pretrial service department does an excellent job. They are a great department. They all really work hard. They believe in their mission, and I believe it's now led by Director Ron Hampton, who is here today, and I really credit him, and actually our Deputy Court Administrator who was our first director of our pretrial service department, for their really hard work in establishing this entire department, and they are the ones to really credit for that.
That's amazing. And thank you to the chair. Thank you to the director then as well. This is a quirk of our budgeting process. It's really hard to see where the pretrial department lives in a budget sense. Any sense of how many folks work there, or the costs of the pretrial services department?
I don't have that exact number. It's expanded over the years. We started very small, and we've grown each year a little bit to, as I think judges have gotten used to using pretrial services, since it was such a whole new concept when we started. And they just do a really great job. We've also taken over some of the supervision ourselves. Initially, we had Oriana House doing most of the supervision, and now we have in-house supervision as well. So I can get you those numbers, though, if you'd like.
Just curious about what it takes, the sense of scale it takes to get those kind of results.
Actually, our handy finance director, to the chair, Councilman, 15 people currently work in our pretrial service department.
Through the chair, thank you very much. And then is it right that the 42% is from 7 or 8 years ago, from before the program?
I would say that's probably where the change has been from when we started to now.
Makes sense. All right. I'll leave it there. I just wanted to dig in on such a resounding and data-backed success. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Davis. Councilman Starr. All right. Councilwoman House.
I just actually, a lot of the questions been had through the chair to the team here. Good morning. Just the question around the increase in thefts. Can you go into what were the increase of thefts and what is behind the thefts?
To the chair, to the councilwoman, good morning. It's hard for me to see. We just get the cases as they come. So I don't know if it's that they've been charged more recently, or that the individual stores are reaching out to the Cleveland Division of Police.
Can I ask more of a clarifying question? So, and this is one of the things through the chair to the team here. It's really trying to get an understanding of the root cause, what happened to the person. Yes, you gonna get charged because you came in wherever to steal something. The other thing is, what were the conditions that led this person to what happened to this person for them to do it? That's what I'm asking. And this is one of the things that I've consistently asked within our judicial system about root causes, right? It's one thing for us to have a law and says someone breaks the law. It's another thing to understand the real happenings behind the action, right? Are you doing it because you're a part of a larger scheme of change? Is this a opportunity of desperation? Like, I don't know, because all things are not the same. And so this is one of the things when you say there is an increase, it would be intriguing to understand the context of those things.
To the chair, to the councilwoman, absolutely. And I think that's where our Cleveland Municipal Court shines, where we do really work at getting to the root cause of the crime. And that's why we have our mental health docket, we have our drug treatment docket, our veterans treatment docket. Our court really is a problem-solving court. We really do work hard to figure out why someone is there and to try and stop reoffending by getting the services in place. Whenever I do a pre-sentence investigation for someone, I always say, you know, I'm having you meet with our probation department. I'd like to know a little bit about you. I want to see if there's any services that we can provide to you to prevent you from coming back again. I mean, that is our goal, and that is, I think, where Cleveland Municipal Court is a recognized leader in the entire state. And our different dockets, our human trafficking docket, we look at all those crimes. Human trafficking isn't just going to be someone that is charged with prostitution. It could very well be someone charged with theft. You know, our drug court, we send people to drug court all the time who have theft charges. They may not necessarily have the charge of having drugs in their hand at that time, but we recognize that looking at their background, looking at their prior record, or sometimes just candid conversations in court, we can see that the drug use is the reason, and then we have a docket for that. We can send them there where we have counselors and we have social workers and we have people in place that are experts in those fields that can help hopefully put people into recovery.
So through the chair to the judge, thank you so much for that clarification. So I guess I'm gonna offer to you and ask that if we can talk more in context, right? I know when we talk about the specialized dockets that are happening because of certain crimes, but a lot of times there is no specialized docket for poverty. We don't talk about it, what that actually does to the psyche and the choices many times that people find themselves in because they do not have enough. I was struck by, I think it was last month, when the Cleveland Food Bank did a kind of like the legislators update event. And they went through just the basics of the cost of food since 2019. Most people don't know what the increase of food is in 2019. Most people can't tell you. It's 24%. 24%. Food has went up 24% since 2019. That's just not food. It's housing, it's gas, everything else. And so it is and I think being a part of a system, as part of the people who are really creating the conditions in a system, we need to be much more cognizant of what is happening to everyday people. Shocking to know. Most people couldn't tell you how much do you actually need to meet the livable wage calculator for a single person with a job. Most people do not know. It's $80,000. $80,000. Well over, most people don't make $80,000, and they are parents. People that work for the city of Cleveland, people that are coming into our courtrooms and everything else. See, these are the things, the reality, people, is cute to make laws and rules, but when it's out of context, it brings a whole different perspective in what we are doing. Many of our laws and rules are very antiquated, and we do not have a system that is helping people be restored when everything is up against them. And so I'm going to continue, and hopefully I can work in partnership with our courts to really tell the story. Like, it's cool to talk about what people were arrested and people that were, recidivism, but we don't talk about their story of what happened to them. And that's really important if we are thinking that we're really trying to serve the people of Cleveland. Because the people of Cleveland are, a lot of times, have a lot on weight on them in comparison to other people. So I would just say that, and I would be remiss because there's a lot of things going on, but I wanted to lift up that point because it's very important. And I think we, as elected people, whether you're in the judicial branch, the executive branch, or the legislative branch, where you're supposed to be writing the rules to change the trajectory, at least from my mind, in a system that was never designed for you, that's our obligation. But thank you all so much for your service.
Chair to the councilwoman, thank you.
Thank you. I have Councilman Kevin Conwell.
Yeah, and I'll be real quick again. There's shoplifters. You guys have a program dealing with shoplifting. Is that correct, through the chair, right?
To the chair, to the councilman, yes.
So what about employee shrinkage as well? Shrinkage meaning, you know what that means, theft. Shrinkage is theft. So you know exactly what it means. And it's correlated, through the chair, to the finance director, because a lot of businesses go out of business because employee shrinkage. That's theft. As long as it's not at a felony level, could they be in the program as well, through the chair?
To the chair, to the councilman, I mean, I think the point of that program, it's a class that is often ordered through our probation department, is to give the whole story of what taking from a company could do to the company. So I think they would be appropriate. We call it, petty theft class, but I think they would be an appropriate person that would be put into a program like that as well.
Through the chair, you see the correlation, don't you?
I do.
They take a business out with employee theft, or we say employee shrinkage. That's all I needed. Thank you very much. Okay.
Thank you. I have Councilman Shaw.
Thank you. Good morning, Your Honor, and thank you for your time and presence. Just real quickly, as I was going through it, I didn't really have any questions until I just realized, am I reading this correct? Can you tell me how much does a judge make to the judge through the chair?
I believe we just received a raise through the legislature, so I think it's about 151.
Oh, well, in the line item, it stated through the chair at 37,000 for the judges. Can you explain?
Our finance director can explain that. Our salaries are kind of funky, that we're paid by the state, the county, and the city. So the city's only responsible for a small portion of our salary, and then we're paid by the county, and then also by the state. I don't know if I answered it on your behalf. So that's why your number, which is set, I believe, by
The state
by the revised code, is a much lower number.
Thank you. I have no further questions. I'm glad you're not making only 37,000.
I don't know who's going to be the king of the one-liners, Shaw or Bensick this year. Okay. I believe that is all of the questions that we have. Judge, once again, thank you, and thank you to all the judges that are here. Did we acknowledge all the judges that are here? I know we got several of them. Former councilmen, yeah. All the judges. Appreciate you guys. Thank you. I just want to say he's a much more relaxed and calm Judge Johnson than the fireball we're used to when he used to be on city council.
To the chair, to the council, we keep them in line.
All right, thank you so much, Judge. Appreciate
Through the chair,
all you
to the
guys.
council, thank you everyone for your time.
Thank you. We're going to now move to the Housing Division and hear from our Housing Court Judge. If they could join us at the table with Judge Wilshire and her team.
Page 113, Cleveland Municipal Court, Housing Division, Administrative Judge Cheryl M. Wiltshire.
Could everybody keep it down, take conversations into the hallway as we're reading this next presenter into the record.
Page 117, 2025 unaudited salaries, $3,210,996. 2026 budgeted, $3,860,738. Page 118, 2025 unaudited total expenditures, $4,842,578. 2026 budgeted, $6,017,076. Page 119, 2025 staffing level, 42. 2026 budgeted 55. Chairman.
Thank you. Judge, welcome. I believe this is your first hearing, so welcome to the table.
Yes, it is. Thank you very much.
Any remarks, and then any questions from my colleagues after that, okay? And please keep your mic as close to your face as possible because we want the entire public to hear what you have to say.
I hope that everyone can hear me.
Could you move it up a little bit more, if you could? I apologize. Pull it like, yeah, there you go.
Okay, can everyone hear me now?
Yes, please proceed. Thank you.
Thank you. I started my term on January 2nd of 2026, so I'm in about 6 weeks. This budget that's being presented to you today was provided by the previous judge. I trust that the information included in this budget is accurate. I've gone over it with my chief financial officer, and we think that the information and the dollar amounts cited in the budget are accurate, and we're asking that obviously you provide us with the funds necessary for us to do what we need to do as housing court. I want to introduce you to my staff. Some of you may know and be familiar with some of the individuals that's sitting here with me. My court administrator is Etoy Shakila Young. She started housing court years ago as a deputy bailiff. She became a housing court specialist. She then moved on to be the chief housing court specialist. She ultimately became the personal bailiff for Judge Ronna O'Leary. She left housing court in 2020 and worked for the health department, and she's now back in housing court. She brings with her a wealth of institutional knowledge. I'm going to be relying on her throughout the years to assist me with matters in housing court. Also next to me is our Chief Financial Officer, Michael Cummings. He's been here before. He was here with the prior judge, and he's done a great job so far. Also with me, and I think, oh, there she is, my HR Director and Deputy Court Administrator, Tanya Jones. She may be familiar to many of you. She worked in City Hall before. She also worked in the General Division of Cleveland Muni Court. I just ask today that you give me grace in doing what I need to do to bring housing court up to speed. I want you to understand that since before taking the bench, actually in December, the Court of Appeals has issued several decisions that requires me to change the course that housing court has been taking. I cannot go against what the Court of Appeals is instructing me to do. I have to do that. There are attorneys here on council. You understand how I have to go forward in terms of those Court of Appeals decisions. With that being said, I am open to your questions.
We'll begin with Councilman Polensek.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My honorable colleagues, Judge, it's so good to see you. This is what I wanted to say. Looking at your budget, do you have the adequate staff to address concerns within not only the court, but with the issues that we're confronted within the neighborhoods?
To be quite frank, no. We're looking to hire additional staff. Right now, we're at 50. We're budgeted for about 55, and we plan on hiring additional staff, yes.
What I'm hoping for is some real engagement with our neighborhoods and our neighborhood groups and organizations. I was a part of the group of councilmen years ago that worked to create the housing court, lobbied in Columbus, et cetera. I was with that group with Jim Rakakis and Ray Pianca, Fannie Lewis. I'm trying to think the whole group of us that worked because we saw the deficiencies within the system as it pertains to code enforcement. It wasn't happening. So, and with the loss of Judge Pianca was a tremendous blow to all of us, and that's why I'm so glad to see that you have brought back some of his folks who were dedicated employees. What I suggested to the council president that we invite you over to a caucus meeting where we could really engage you. Just that you could hear our concerns, we could hear your concerns. Because when I look across the city, as I indicated to the mayor at the letter transmittal, the number one complaint into my office daily is housing code issues. When I go back into my office and I'm going to look at my call logs and I log all my calls, it's going to be the absentee landlords, which were being descended upon the LLCs. The majority of our residents today are tenants, renters versus homeowners. Our residents, especially many of our elderly, as I was walking door to door in the course of my campaign this last summer, they don't have the money to fix their homes. They're on Social Security. And what I learned with Judge Bianco was that I never saw him hammer anyone who was indigent or poor. He attempted to work with them to try to get them in the city program. So that's what I want to see. I want to see some correlation between the housing court and city programs and other nonprofit agencies that are providing housing services as well. But I'm hoping, and the council president can schedule you to come over for that caucus so we can really build a partnership. I was not happy with the last administration in housing court. I make it bones. I made no bones about it. I had on several occasions, I had to go to my dear friend Earl Turner for assistance, his shop, to help me out on housing court issues, which I was just, what's going on here? The other thing I would suggest, when you have the time, come out into the neighborhoods like Ray did. He would actually come out and look at properties that were real sources of concerns and complaints. You will find, this is my observation, you will find a council that's very receptive because we're feeling the pain. We are feeling it big time with what's happening in this city. The age of our housing stock, the problems again with the LLCs. I'm dealing with companies. I'm dealing with a company from Brussels, Belgium. I'm dealing with a character from China. I'm dealing with people from just about every part of the world coming into my neighborhood buying a property. And we've never seen that before. We've never experienced it. And we're seeing that across, I can't speak for my West Side colleagues, but we're seeing that on the East Side because they're coming, the property values are cheaper. These characters are coming in with cash, buying homes, and then they're jacking the rent up. And the new phenomenon we're seeing on the East Side is that a lot of landlords, especially responsible landlords, they want their tenants, they want them to sign a lease. Well, these guys are coming in, they don't want, there's no lease. It's month to month. So you're on the hook. You either pay or you're out. That's the new game plan. And I've never witnessed this, and I'm a senior member of this body. So I just want to say I wish you well. As I've said to you when you came out to my neighborhood, I'm here to help you, work with you as closely as I can. Let's build a partnership. Let's build a relationship. So, because I'm not happy, building and housing is not up here today yet, not up yet before us. But I got a whole lot of issues because I'm concerned, like most of my colleagues, that the properties that we are complaining about for some reason never wind up in housing court. And we don't understand why. We don't know that we don't have enough attorneys in the law department. Do we not have aggressive attorneys? But you've been there a short time. And that's why I hope we have this engagement because we want to hear from you what your perceptions are with the city, with building and housing code enforcement, with the law department. It's 2026. We got to get beyond it. This has got to work for our citizens because I see the frustration. I'm concerned, and that's why I asked you about your budget. We've got to make sure that you're adequately funded. You have the professionals that you need in your shop to represent our citizens. I'm very aggressive, as most people know. I have no use for people who disrespect my neighborhood. I refer to it in Collinwood, Glenville, when I represent Glenville, is the misery index. I make their life miserable as best as I can. And that's where I'm at, because they're making my citizens' life miserable. So again, I'm going to stop there, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate Judge, you coming to the table with your team. I'm glad to see some familiar faces back here at the table, like this lady. Okay, see her back at the table. She's smiling. She's glad to be back, and a few others. Okay, I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you. I'm here to beat the tar out of some folks. Okay, that's what I'm here for. I want these landlords to say, "Uh-oh, I got to go in front of that housing court judge now. I got to worry about that one." That's what I want. Panic. I want there to be fear factor in this city when it comes to these characters that just rip our neighborhoods off, bleed us, don't care about our citizens, and then those citizens that need help, how we can plug them in to get the really help they need. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'm so glad to see you, Judge, and God bless you, and thank you. Bye.
Thank you. To the chair, to the councilman, I am planning on meeting with members of Building and Housing, the Law Department, the Public Defender's Office to discuss some issues pertaining to how we proceed with cases in housing court. Right now, I just started hearing cases at 9 a.m. And instead of starting a docket at 11, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, the prosecutors have a job to do. They cannot sit in housing court all day and wait around. I have a job to do. I'm in the building at 7:30, and I start my docket at 9. And my docket is ending sometimes before 1 o'clock. We're doing the work. As far as getting out in the community, that is our intention. But I do not want my staff to go out into the community and not be educated, and to be able to educate the individuals out there that need the help. I don't want my staff going out and handing out a piece of paper and walking away. I want my staff to give accurate information, the correct information, and we're spending time doing that. We will be back in the community with our housing clinics. We anticipate doing that in late spring, but understand what we're working with behind the scenes. Earlier this week, I attended Nikki Hudson's community meeting. I think it was her first community meeting. And I am now in Ward 11. She is my council person. And she did me the kindness of not introducing me to the room. But once they started talking and questioning her about housing court issues, I had to jump in the fray, so to speak. So yes, I will have conversations with each and every one of you at some point. I will meet with you. And if we can have a caucus meeting, I would appreciate that. I would appreciate it being scheduled. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you. We now have Conwell Starr Harsh. Councilman, if you could speak in your mic, we
My
can't hear you.
residents are my bosses as well as your boss and your board of directors. And as Councilmember Mike Pelincic mentioned, we do need help there because your department also helped to fight against crime when you can reduce blight or kill blight off. And I need to not only have you come to our meetings in the community, Judge, but also walk the neighborhoods for safe routes for children to and from schools so that you can get an up-close view and have a sensitive ear of what's going on in our community. So Imani will reach out to you because it's important when people come in front of you that you know the lay of the land. I know it's going to take you some time, but we need that. With Judge Bianca, I know people always mention about him, but he's legendary. He had an outreach worker that would come to city council on Mondays, right before we called a 7 o'clock meeting, council president. And Councilmember Mike Pelincic, remember, and she would ask us what are our issues and concerns. Do the chair, do you plan to do something like that?
Yes, and it will probably be the person sitting next to me, Etoy Young, my court administrator. She will try to attend each meeting, and she will engage you with whatever questions or concerns that you have.
That's good. That's fine. And also, it would be great if she could listen at the beginning of the council meetings when people get on the floor and they narrate their issues and concerns, because they talk about housing, and housing is, they don't talk about housing court, but they talk about housing issues. And I'm not telling you how to do your job, Judge, I'm truly not. But I'm here and they narrate their issues and concerns. Isn't that right, Council President?
Yep.
And that way you'll get up close view from there as well. And that'll help us out. What was the other thing? You mentioned safe routes, outreach. I'm good, I'm fine. I know you just, but no, you mentioned the courts earlier through the chair, the appellate courts, right?
Yes.
And they, what they sent you a slew. Can you share it with us? Or you have a list?
I can. One of these decisions is now has stopped my court from requiring a rental registration in order to proceed with an eviction. So the revenue that was coming in from landlords being required to get a rental registration, that is basically going away. I cannot now force landlords to get a rental registration in order to get an eviction. The rental registration is still required for other things, but not an eviction.
So the appellate court came up with that, or was that the state?
The appellate court issued that decision.
Did the state reps or the state senators
No,
create the law to tell the appellate courts? Because, you know, it's state law what they do. I understand that part.
Yes. State law sets forth the requirements that's necessary in order to get an eviction. When you pass the legislation regarding rental registration, the 8th District Court of Appeals found that the requirement of a rental registration does not comport with state law. It encumbers a landlord from getting an eviction. So that's why.
I know landlords were talking about that. I wondered if they lobby downstate. I mean, you don't know, but I'm just wondering.
I don't know. But the decision came from the 8th District Court of Appeals here.
And did they give you any other, besides that, did they tell you any other issues or concerns to the chair?
Well, in terms of issuing fines, it seems as though the court was being excessive in issuing fines. The law allows us to fine at a certain amount, and what the court was doing was going beyond that. And the mandate now is that you stick to what the law allows you to do and not go beyond that.
Do you, when you issue fines, do you guys create through the chair a special fund set aside for that we can see in this book, or we have to request for the fund, and you do what with those funds when you issue fines through the council president to the judge?
To the chair, to the councilman, there is a provision in our budget that's identified on, and let me find the page for you. That page number is 118, and at the bottom of it, it identifies the fines and forfeitures and settlements. And those monies go into the special project fund.
And you do, through the chair, and you do what with the special project funds? How do you monitor and control that through the chair to the judge?
Well, it's governed by statute, and we can only use that money for specific things like technology and special projects that the court may try to implement. We cannot just use that money willy-nilly. The statute is very clear on that.
Okay, good. Through the chair, who is your controller?
And well, we don't have a controller per se. We have a chief finance officer who is here with me, Mr. Cummings.
Okay. Thank you very much. And through the chair, your chief financial officer, you meet with the city frequently, or have your department been on budget as well when you mention that, when you talk with us through the chair?
To the councilman through the chair, we are setting up quarterly meetings with OBM regarding our budget. That includes the special project funds.
Could you speak up just a little bit?
Can't hear you. If you could speak in the
Right.
microphone.
Okay.
And is the green light on?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Okay.
Through the councilman, through the chair, we are setting up quarterly meetings with OBM to discuss the budget for the housing court, which includes the special project fund.
Which include that special project fund.
Correct.
All right, that's a good thing. Thank you, and thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Councilman Starr.
Bingo. Council President, I'm almost there. One of the things that I definitely want to ask, obviously we do have a new housing court judge, and like from the beginning of your speech, mentioned the fact that 6 weeks in, budget was already presented probably in the fourth quarter of last year. Kind of hard to make different tweets or anything, so it's hard to be able to drill down on the difference of what you're trying to do as opposed to what the previous administration was. So I think it would be not honest for us to have a conversation, but through the chair to our dean, he did mention possibly getting you to come in later on down the road to a caucus to discuss some of the things that you're looking to implement and how it can align with some of the challenges or some of the things that we want to do. Also within your assessment of the housing court, doing your SWOT analysis and looking at everything to see what was good, what some changes. You know, those things are very important. And I'm a firm believer, you never learn a job. It takes you a minimum of a year to understand how to learn the aspect of your role within any job. So I can't bring up all the problems that I may have or all the good things that I have experienced from the housing court because there's a difference. And I look forward to working with you. And I definitely want to let you know that some of the challenges that I'm dealing with in Ward 5 is just the fact of the negligence of slum landlord. And what I mean by that is how do we get our housing court, our city attorneys, our building and housing department to all work in alignment to deal with some of these issues. And one of the biggest challenges that I heard from the law department is the fact that our code enforcement and our rules and our regulations as it applies to HUD subsidized housing, no jurisdiction. I don't understand how, even though you are funded through the federal government and they have guidelines and rules and regulations for their tenants or who's being subsidized and their owners of their properties who getting their dollars, but then if we have laws, they don't have to abide by them. To me, that just sounds like, what's the sense of us being elected officials with different laws in place if people can just say, well, since it's funded through federal government, they don't have to do what we ask. I think it should be an extra layer of protection. So therefore, even if someone is HUD-funded property and we have residents first and we have housing codes and we have rules and regulations in place, they should be compliant of what the federal government says as well as the city too. And if there's a breakdown of them not being in compliance, it should be us as a collective, including our city attorneys, our building and housing, as well as our housing court to seek to get them in compliance or figure out what's going on. Because some of the challenges that I know you heard when you came to a community meeting in Ward 5, when residents talk about when they come up and they be the ones to be the leaders to speak out on how they are being treated by the slum landlord. Next thing you know, they end up in housing court and it becomes a point of lack of information or understanding from their part where they say, hey, I stopped paying my rent, now they're getting evicted. But then everyone don't look at the amount of complaints, citations, different things that we can do. So figuring out how we can work together to make sure we are protecting those residents from being retaliated towards because they spoke up. So I just want to say I welcome you to your new position. Some of those things I think needs to be addressed and how we can work together. And I definitely know you're going to be able to work with us later on. But something that I think is important from a question point through the chair, if you do have an answer or anyone on your team, what is the current number of possible active housing cases? And what is more so the average time from filing to resolution, potentially through the court, through the chair? Do we have any data on that?
Well, I can address 2025. We had 6,500 civil cases, and criminal cases, we had 946. Now, in terms of the timeline of resolving a case, I cannot really give you a specific timeline because each case is different and warrant different things. So one particular case could resolve within 3 or 4 months. Another case could take over a year. So there is no definite answer to that question. I'm sorry.
Thank you. That's great, and I want to continue to work with you. Look forward to. Also, when you talk about tracking and data and things from the housing court, do you have anything as far as a system where you track repeat offenders, such as how many landlords account for a majority of our cases, and how you track chronic violators are being tracked? So if it's someone that's in that 6,000 and it escalated to the 900 to criminal case, how do we track to say, hey, this is one who is a red flag, they are not doing things in compliance? City, the city of Cleveland, law and building the housing department, you should have this known so residents, so we can be able to hold them in compliance. Do you have anything in place or a system that you use to be able to track the chronic violators?
I don't think that we actually do, but I think building and housing, the law department, since they're the ones who bring the cases into housing court, should be able to give you that information. But if it's something that you readily need, I would definitely work with law department and building and housing to get you that information. One of the things I do want to say is that when I have to sentence someone, and there's a housing court specialist assigned, the housing court specialist actually send to each one of you a communication identifying the address and asking you to send them information on that property. What's happening since I've taken the bench is that we're not getting any information from you. And I want you to understand that in order for me to sentence, I need the information. That's my way of asking you for the information. The court closes at 4:30, but your constituents are there 24/7. They give you the information. When we ask for the information, give it to us because it helps me do what I need to do. So I'm not saying that this is all on you, but you have a part to play, and I want you to know what your part is, and it helps me do my job.
I think you touched on a very important subject, and that goes back to some of the things that me and my colleagues are looking to work towards is a constituent management system. Because one of the things is tracking everything on a spreadsheet that we currently have is not helping us. Because therefore, when I look at the email that come through with the docket and it's got this attachment, I'm trying to scramble to figure out from me and just my executive assistant to figure out what's been going on with this property when we are trying to lobby. So I know we're working on this side to be able to get a constituent management services system up to be able to pull different things where we can utilize a tracking system to say, hey, this address was in Ward 5 or this address was in this ward, and we can look at how many things been sent to us about this so we can be able to give you more support and evidence so you can make an informed ruling as opposed to just a resident who probably saying, I did send it over, I did report this, and next you know, this property and these owners then lawyered up with the best of the best attorney, and you have to make a ruling in fact of the law based on the support and evidence that that person may present and one may not. So that is something that is very important. And within the just compliance and different things, I know we have not done a lot with receivership. I know that is very expensive and it's not easy to do. But also within the, I don't know if you may have this data, but I know your team possibly has some different information when it relates to receivership. I definitely would ask if you can explain, or if not, how many receivership were granted potentially in the last couple of years, or maybe the last year, and if you can share, because I know you have some things you're not allowed to share in the public. Do you have possible outcomes resulted after the receivership? Are they still in receivership? Have they been transferred over? Or have we been able to get different people to purchase the property to be able to be not a slum landlord or be more in compliance and have good quality housing for those tenants through the chair, if not.
Councilman, if after the judge answers this question, if we wrap up, because you're over time, so I want to make sure we stay on time. There, okay?
All right.
Judge, please proceed.
To the chair, to the councilman, my recollection is that we may have had 2 in the last few years, but like you said, receiverships are expensive. The receivers have to be paid, and the work that they do, we need to supply funds to do that. So I think you may need to start looking at how to fund a receivership program so that we can do what we need to do in housing court in terms of appointing a receiver. There is a procedure for appointing a receiver, but that alone isn't just it. Monies need to be set aside to pay the receivers and to allow the receivers to do what they have to do.
And I'll wrap up. Definitely, thank you for that, and I hear you. I think we probably gonna have $8 million in the budget available now that we're making different changes this morning. So we may need to look and see what we can do. But also, as Council President said, wrap up, I definitely will put a couple questions to our staff to talk about how we can make sure we got quarterly reporting, if possible, from the housing court by ward, so we can be able to figure out how to get things loaded up. And I yield, Chair.
Thank you. And Finance Director, I don't know if you hear a recurring theme, but I think it's going to be an appetite from this council to really try to find dollars to set aside for receivership. So I just want to make sure we plant that seed. I know we'll have that discussion, reconciliation, but please keep that in mind, okay? All right, thank you. We have Councilman Christopher Harsh, Councilman Sheldon Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Are we doing 10 minutes?
Yes, 10 minutes.
Got it. Okay. Thank you, Chair. And Judge Wiltshire, very good to see you this morning. Welcome to Cleveland City Council.
Thank you.
I don't think it's a secret. Before you were a constituent of Ward 11, you were a constituent of Ward 13.
Correct.
We have known each other for a few years, so I'm very excited to see you here this morning for your first budget cycle. I don't want to reiterate things that have already been said, but I think it's understood how important housing court is to this body. Cleveland City Council created a housing court. I think the dean was here. It was in the 80s when they recognized the need to actually separate the municipal court workload into a specific housing docket. And as a creation of Cleveland City Council, has always been near and dear to our hearts. I also would be remiss to not point out that back when I was a know-it-all activist before I became a know-it-all councilman, I chased slumlords all over the west side of Cleveland for a living, and I would chase them straight into housing court, where I learned how the justice system actually works. Because I would contact building and housing and ask them to issue violations, and I would go hound the prosecutor's department about pushing those people into court, and then I would go to court to actually watch justice unfold. And I think for a lot of us, when we deal with the problems in our neighborhood, the abandoned houses, the absolute scourge of investment property ownership from out of state and out of country, the process starts in our neighborhood at a very local level for us, a very hands-on level, and it ends in your court. So this relationship, I hope, will grow between all of members of City Council and you over the next couple of years as we sort of fine-tune this process of dealing with the problems in our neighborhood. As such, through the chair to the judge, I believe that most people problems need people solutions. And while I spent years in housing court, I got to know a number of fantastic housing court specialists. These were the people that actually worked with homeowners to help them access programs and resources, because as Councilman Polunsic said, judges previously don't throw our neighbors to the wolves. We try to help our neighbors. We try to extend that helping hand. I think that those folks were fantastic, and I worked with them a lot. They helped people in ways that I did not know existed and really sort of restored some of my faith in the government process, because I saw that there was a light at the end of the tunnel. I would be remiss to not point out that the budget you're bringing forth to us today, Your Honor, is $300,000 less than the one that was approved last year. And it's typically unusual that we see budgetary requests go down. I'm not saying that we're ungrateful, but when I think about the role of housing court specialists and the needs of people to work with people to solve these problems, my question to you through the Council President is where do you think these staffing levels are in terms of the housing court specialists and the people that are needed to work one-on-one once you've cleared the issue off your bench and it goes into the hands of people to help? Where do you think we're looking at in terms of these numbers? How do they feel in the first 6 weeks that you've been here?
I think that as far as staffing is concerned, we need the staff. And what I'm looking to do and the direction I'm looking to take housing court in, we need additional staff. The budget, like I said, was provided by the previous judge, and she fixed it at a particular number. It came back to us with a decrease of about $300,000. And that question, the reason for that decrease, I think the director here needs to answer that question, because as far as I'm concerned, that money should be back in the pile in order for me to do what I have to do.
Through the chair then to the finance director, do you have any insights or
Yeah,
thoughts?
so through the chair to the councilman, we did meet with the judge and her team and went over the budget and explained, what each dollar was for. They are carrying several vacancies. They have currently 13 vacancies. We're adding 2 to their head count. So if you look at the costs from last year, their salaries were about $3 million. We're still giving them $3.7 million plus the 2 head count. So obviously, if they start filling those vacancies, and it looks like they're approaching their adjusted amount, we can revisit that. I'd be more than happy to do that. But that was the logic behind that, and we did meet with the courts to discuss it.
Through the chair, there is often, we get green sheets as people make last-minute adjustments to the head counts and things like that. Through the chair to the judge, did I hear you say that the 42 number has already gone up? There's 42 head count at the end of 2025.
Yes.
At the end of but your current head count is actually back up.
50, yes.
You're at 50, so there's only 5 vacancies.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I will leave it at that. I believe we all look forward to having you back to talk perhaps more informally about the relationship between City Council, the administration, and Housing Court. As housing is near and dear to my heart, it's one of the most important issues that we deal with here in Cleveland. And thank you for coming in today. It's good to see you, and I wish you all the best as you go forth and build Housing Court.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Harsh. Councilman Shaw.
Good morning. Thank you, Your Honor, for being here. It is a pleasure. As I think many of my colleagues know, I actually started out as a housing attorney and was before the Housing Court many times. But even before that, I actually got started out when I was knocking doors to spread the word about right to counsel as an organizer with the Democratic Socialists of America. And to be here as a full circle moment, I'm really grateful for that, and grateful for your presence and the work that the court has continued doing, and I look forward to that. Before we jump in through the chair to Your Honor, I wanted to just get a grasp on some numbers. I remember at one point we were averaging over 400 evictions that were being filed over a 2-week period. Do you know where that average eviction number right now stands for a 2-week period or a 1-week period?
I don't know, but I can possibly get you that information later. But right now, I don't know.
Yeah, if we can get some of the just information about the caseload numbers that we're seeing being filed, that would be really helpful. And just understanding the macro trends of what's going on with our housing market, that would be much appreciated. And then I wanted to jump in on just some of the issues I heard you allude to, the decisions we've seen coming out of the superior courts. The Shaker House decision was really disappointing. That prevents us from requiring lead-safe certificates before we go forward with evictions. To the judge, through the chair, my understanding of that decision was that it was something that was frowned upon by the appellate court because it was a housing court requirement. It is something that my understanding is, to my colleagues, it's something we're not forbidden as city council from enacting and asking landlords to do. It was an issue because it was the judicial branch making requirements on top of what the law was. And as far as the judge is concerned, Your Honor, I wanted to kind of just understand what kind of things are you looking for in terms of the how are you planning on making adjustments now that the rental registration certificate has been disbanded as well? Does that make sense?
Well, like I said before, it only affects evictions. The requirement for the rental registration remains. On the criminal end, if someone is brought into housing court for a criminal offense, I can still require that they get a rental registration. So on that end, it still remains. It's just the evictions that I can't do it anymore.
And so, am I understanding right? You're planning on maintaining that going forward?
Absolutely, yes.
Wonderful. And then through the chair to the judge, I also wanted to understand, in the past, after COVID, we have the ability for tenants and landlords to appear before the court by remote options. Is that a policy that you're planning on continuing, or do you plan on making adjustments to that?
I'm planning on making adjustments, but in the works, we're looking to sit down and have a conversation with legal aid, because legal aid is the entity that handles the right to counsel. And right now, everyone's going virtual as far as the eviction docket is concerned, but I would like to bring the eviction docket back in person. I'm not going to do that right away. I'm going to have a conversation with the attorneys, including legal aid, to see how we can effectuate that. The right to counsel program is a big part of the eviction docket, and I want to make sure that that continues. Legal aid issued their numbers for 2025 recently regarding the right to counsel and the amount of individuals that's been helped by right to counsel. It's increased significantly since 2020. So I want to continue the relationship between legal aid and making sure that the right to counsel program progressive beyond where it is right now.
I appreciate that, Your Honor. And through the chair, I see the executive director has stepped. I don't know if that was part of the plan, but I know they're interested in making sure that program continues as well, and I want to see that as well. In regards to the right to counsel piece, I know it's important for tenants to have that option. I'm clear about my biases for the tenants. I always thought it unfair that landlords' attorneys could be in 7 different courts on the same day because they could appear by Zoom for each one, whereas historically they would have been forced to go in person. So if I had my way, I would definitely encourage the court to require landlords' attorneys to appear in person, but giving tenants the option to show up by Zoom. But that's up to you. And then I wanted to echo what Councilman Harsh pointed out about the housing court specialists and the need to increase those salaries. My understanding is that those salaries are set at about $68,000, and just once again want to echo how helpful they've been in providing advice and, I know it's not legal advice, but at least guidance for navigating the process to tenants and landlords, as well as the staff attorneys. I know you have a big caseload, and we want to make sure that the folks who are working for the city are compensated well, and I absolutely would support an increase in the budget to make sure that the people who are doing the work actually feel valued and feel compelled to stay. So hopefully we see some adjustments from either your staff or the finance director to make that increased adjustment, because I believe it was Housing Court previous Judge Ronald Leary who pointed out the housing mechanism is a 3-pronged stool, where we have the Housing Court as one important part of it, along with building and housing and code enforcement. So we want to see that being implemented. So I would definitely appreciate those numbers that we mentioned earlier at the table about the eviction numbers, and we want to see how we can support, and I look forward as well to your caucus presentation. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Davis.
Thank you, Council President. Through the chair, Judge, thank you again so much for joining us here today. I'm incredibly excited about what the future holds here now that you're in the chair. I did not have the pleasure of representing you, but I do currently represent the former Judge Ron O'Leary, as well as the neighborhoods where Ray Pianca lived. So Housing Court is part of my community's fabric, and to see where you're going with it my community is eager. We're very excited. The trouble of going last is all the good comments have been taken, so I'll reiterate a couple things. Housing Court budget going down, not up, seems like a bad sign, so let us know when we can help. And the receivership program is an increasing priority of this council. In the Near West Side, we had the same disease as much as the city of Cleveland, maybe different symptoms, but it's corporate greed, it's out-of-state landlords, it's LLCs that are buying up our very limited housing stock and letting it rot. It's a problem everywhere across the city, and it's one that I certainly prioritize. Housing Court is such a key part to fighting back. And the receivership program, especially the nuisance abatement one, where CDCs or the city can initiate these proceedings, really an exciting tool. You mentioned only 2 receiverships in the last few years, and we can do more, I think, together. And so I'll ask, beyond funding, a key element here, no doubt about it, but beyond putting some money aside to ensure the receiverships can happen, how can we work better together to, streamline the process or facilitate receiverships?
Well, Housing Court has a local rule pertaining to receiverships, and that's something that we can implement and make sure that it's done correctly. The law department has its own procedure. They know what they need to do. It's a matter of communicating with each other and letting each other know what we're doing and making sure that everything is in place for the receiver when the receiver is appointed. We have our part to play as the court. The law department has its part to play. So as long as we stay in communication and do what we have to do and do the right thing, and the funding, and I'm sorry to say this yet again, the funding is available, we can make it happen.
Through the chair, it makes total sense. I'll bring one receivership query to your table right now. There was in Tremont on West 8th, Tremont West, the CDC was due to be designated to be a receiver for a property that experienced a house fire in, I want to say 21, and sat there without a roof basically until 25. There were permits pulled and procedures used to prevent the California investor that purchased this property from engage. It's a classic story. Housing Court last year, I don't know exactly what happened, but the receivership fell apart at the last minute, as I understand. And so these are the kind of, this is a single-family home, and with a willing receiver, there's a funding stream available, and we just couldn't get there. Something happened. Let's explore what happened, and maybe we can make it easier to do these things in the future. This is, it's around the corner, it's a family home, and I would love to see it back on the market.
Thank you.
Otherwise, just thank you for offering to meet with us individually. I will certainly look forward to that, and thank you for offering to be at a caucus. We're very excited for your presence.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Congratulations.
Thank you.
The First Ward citizens would love to work with your administration on improving the conditions of the housing stock in the Lee Harvard, Seville, Miles, now Mount Pleasant communities. And what I want to do is just lay some foundation. We have always been a neighborhood that believed in code enforcement and keeping our housing stock up. Over the space of years now, we have seen a decline in the east side of the city of Cleveland's housing stock to such degree where some parts of the city of Cleveland looks like third world countries. It's that bad. And when we look at our business communities and our business district, they also have fallen down way short. What we want to do is have a collaboration with your office to look at ways and means to create new rules and regulations, if possible, here on this side. And we know that you fundamentally deal with the issues and the problems and may have ideals and concepts on how to improve it. If we continue to do what we have been doing all along, we won't have an east side of the city of Cleveland anymore because what we're talking about and what you probably heard earlier from some of my colleagues earlier is that our market space now is being overrun by investors. So at one space in time, our market space was home ownership. And now what we're seeing vastly happening in the city of Cleveland right now is a rental market. I'm opposed to rental markets. It takes away from the neighborhoods. And so where those residential communities like mine exist, we want to protect that. So I would love to work with you to be able to do that. On the commercial side, we have business owners who are making a tremendous amount of money in our communities, but they do not take care of their properties. And in some instances, because some of the properties are so undervalued and cheap, they've been able to gobble them up. And in doing so, they have not maintained those properties. And I know that a lot of our code enforcement comes on this side of the table, and then it gets to your court. So I would love to work with you to see how we can have a great partnership
and have someone who can be a liaison to working with me because we have a number of issues. We have a situation right now where we've reported the issue, and I know that the law department is going to get back with me about it, but we have a operation dead smack in the middle of my neighborhood where they have been running roughshod a garbage processing, I don't know what you can call it other than garbage processing. And at some spaces in time, it has been 15, 20 trucks coming in and out, and we're talking about sometimes anywhere between 40 to 60 cubic yards of debris. This is dead smack in a residential neighborhood. So I need to get assistance and help, and as those cases, and I know at some instances, and learning this from the previous judge, you can't talk about cases, but at the end of the day, I would love to have someone in your office that can work with us, help us to navigate that whole process. And then we're even thinking about putting together a committee in our ward just dealing with code enforcement to come down to your court. So when cases are heard in our respective territory, we'll have people come down and testify to you about that. We used to have that a long time ago. I talked about Ray Pianca probably about a couple of days ago. Ray Pianca created the court. He sat at this table. He understood as an elected official the problems and issues of our neighborhoods and our communities. And by the way, Ray Pianca was probably one of the best judges that I have known, not just in the sense of housing court, but in the sense of his humanity, in terms of creating systems to help neighborhoods and local development corporations with funding sources. Some of you may be aware of that, and if we could start getting back to that, if we can, that would be appreciative because our neighborhoods are in need. Now, I do want to just touch upon the point of evictions because this is important too. And part of this is the neighborhood. And Mr. Chairman, I appreciate you giving me some extra time. Our neighborhood right now in terms of evictions, there are senior citizens being evicted out of their homes. I used to be an asset manager, so sometimes I could call the day and stop the eviction. So I know it can be stopped. So no one can tell me it cannot be stopped. So when we have situations where they're senior citizens or they're handicapped and they are under, in some instances, a scam where they're paying their rent but didn't realize that they were being evicted. We've had those kinds of situations. I would hope that the court would give us some opportunity of, mercy. And at least don't allow it to happen that day so that people can get their stuff together. Another issue is high-end neighborhoods. This term is used in the industry of asset management. Our neighborhood in the city of Cleveland is considered a low-end assets. And so because we're considered low-end assets, what's happening right now is, which I think is inhumane, and it's something that we need to really fundamentally look at changing, because in other neighborhoods, they don't take the people's personal belongings and put them on the tree line. They have movers come and move their stuff out and put it into storage. I know this to be the case because I've run cruises that have done that. And so in neighborhoods and poor communities, they just throw their personals out right on the corner, right on the curb. It's an eyesore to the public, it's an eyesore to the neighborhood and to the community. And we need to start enacting policies and that can be a part of those who are doing the eviction process, make that payment to store their stuff for 30 days. And so that's something that I'd like to work with your office in trying to do, because we are all human beings and we shouldn't be treated like animals. And so when you take someone's personal stuff and put it out there on the tree line, a lot of people don't know they can sue. And there has been lawsuits, and people have won those lawsuits and had to be reimbursed somewhere upwards. The one I know is $80,000 for their personals being put out on the street lawn. But I do want to try to treat our people in the city of Cleveland, my constituents, as human beings. And I would love to work with you to see how we could do something like that so that they start changing the rules about putting people's personal belongings on the tree line. And Mr. Chairman, that's pretty much it. Again, just congratulations. I look forward to working with you, and I wish you much success and longevity.
To the chair, to the councilman, the issue of setting property out on the tree lawns, there are other localities that have different procedures for doing that. If the eviction is done correctly, we can possibly work with the landlord in terms of holding the property and allowing the tenant to, giving the tenant a specific amount of days to return and retrieve the property before the property actually goes out on the tree lawn. That's something that we can definitely look into. In terms of disabled and aging individuals, you've just given me an idea. Our magistrates hear the first cause docket. They have a long sheet of questions that they ask. I think what we're going to possibly do is add a provision that requires them to ask about the ward where this property is located, so that if the eviction is granted, we can then communicate with you and let you know we have this individual that is possibly going to be evicted and services are needed. It used to be that we were able to pick up the phone, call the Department of Aging, have them come in and help the individuals and rehouse individuals. That relationship ended. I'm looking to recreate that relationship once again. We're hoping to meet with the Department of Aging to start to talk about what we need on our end and what they can do to help residents, aged residents. So that is something that we have already discussed and we're looking into doing. But thank you for bringing that up because you gave me an idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Charles Life.
Thank you, and to just comment on Councilman Jones's point about the setouts, I think, I don't know if it would be 11 or 12, but there's a house on West Boulevard just off of Detroit where there's a big pile of stuff on the front lawn, and I've also been thinking we need to come up with a way to hold landlords accountable for that and charge them really for what I would consider to be illegal dumping without creating an incentive for them to actually destroy and remove people's belongings to the point where they can't get it. But I had a resident over around Christmas evicted with, she was sitting on the sidewalk on Triscuit Road, senior citizen, and it was actually a group of residents who saw her and came residents who paid for storage and hotels, and fortunately partnering with Aging, we were able to get her into a good spot. But she got evicted and she wouldn't leave because she had her cats there, and she wouldn't leave the sidewalk because she didn't want to leave her animals. It was pretty sad. Wanted to share an experience and kind of get your feedback, and in doing this, kind of get your perspective on the record so I can refer back to it later if I have to. 3 doors down from my old house, there was a vacant home. The owner had moved to North Carolina. It wasn't distressed. It was just vacant. It was about 150 feet from the Riverside School kindergarten playground. And one day we noticed someone had moved in, and the neighbors had known this was a known individual in the neighborhood, legal issues, not someone that we wanted across the street from the kindergartners. Shout out to the 1st District CPOP officers who called Pittsboro, North Carolina police and said, can you go knock on this guy's door? We can't get a hold of him. We're trying to figure out if someone's allowed to be in this home. And the owner, the out-of-state owner, verified the no one is allowed to be in my home. I thought this was a slam dunk, this is trespassing, but lo and behold, Cleveland police told me that this was treated as an eviction, not as criminal trespassing. And because the individuals were not known to the property owner, the housing court would not issue a John Doe eviction. You had to know the name of the people illegally in your property in order to receive an eviction. So if you come home from vacation and my cousin's in your house, sorry, like you're stuck. I guess I'm interested in, one, understanding if that is an overcorrection within the Cleveland Division of Police, and do they need to be treating these as evictions, or is some affirmation or affidavit from a property owner sufficient to demonstrate that this is a criminal trespassing and not a case where there could be a claim of an oral contract? And then what is your position on John Doe evictions as you take the helm of Housing Court?
If the owner files a complaint for eviction and names the individuals as John Doe, Jane Doe, the eviction should still go forward because we're putting the owner in a situation where they have to find out who these individuals are, and they may never know. And do we want to hold them, put them in a situation where they're stuck with these individuals in their homes because they don't know the names? No, we don't. As far as the criminal trespass issue, I'm not sure that the police is giving the correct information on that. But that's something that I would have to research and look into. But on the civil end, if you file the complaint, we will treat the complaint correctly, even if the defendants are named as John Doe and Jane Doe.
Okay, thank you. I think I'm glad to hear that. This fortunately was resolved. The sheriff came and thinking that they were serving a warrant on someone, but it turned out that it was another individual, but they were able to explain you're not allowed to be in this home, and whether they feigned ignorance to the fact that they alleged they had a illegal lease or something, but it resolved. But it was very frustrating, and it was a weeks-long process, and I feel for all of the anger, the righteous anger we have towards so many negligent property owners and out-of-state property owners. Here was a case where we had an out-of-state property owner who was actually trying to do the correct thing. I didn't even mention that there were concerns about an eviction and a rental registration, even though it wasn't a rental, but we've already covered that. So I'm glad to hear that such a situation would be able to proceed more expeditiously towards what was a matter of public safety. So thank you.
Thank you. I have Councilman Casey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mr. Chairman, to the judge, congratulations on your new position, and we look forward to working with you and doing everything we can to assure that you're successful in anything that we can do when you're on the bench. And again, thank you for the invitation for input from the council. That eventually is going to mean a lot to us at this side of the table. On page 118, and I know you weren't there last year, but I asked Judge Okar the same thing in regards to the revenues. And your fine, forfeiture, and settlements I see is only $700,000. But can you get us, and I'm sure you don't have it today, how much the court imposed in fines and court costs in 2025?
I can absolutely do
Okay.
that.
And
Yes.
that's all I have. Thank you. And again, congratulations, Judge.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for Housing Division? Yes. Oh, so I had to look over. We have House Jones and then Bishop. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Through the chair, to the judge, good morning. How are you? This is more of a programming to see if this is even a service that's offered. So as I've been going to varying houses, apartments, things of that nature, talking to inspectors, one of the things that has come to my attention, has been shared to me, is that it's noted that, how would I say, the household, I'm gonna say cleanliness of a unit is not necessarily an evictable charge, again, as it's been shared to me. And one of the things that I've seen is that, especially in many of our multifamily dwellings, that there are units, because of some of the housekeeping issues, are causing havoc to other people, and it's just been communicated, well, there's nothing we can do about it. And so I'm trying to figure out, A, how are we addressing that? And if, because one of the inspectors like, no, we need to give like a household cleaning workshop or, something to support people when your household environment is causing issues to those who are in close proximity to you. And as I'm going, it's just a lot going on. I'm trying to be, real respectful, but like there's a lot going on, and I'm trying to get a better understanding when that is coming to the court. How are we addressing those things? If it could be answered or to be continued. And so I wanted to see, and again, my question is through the chair to our housing court team is, do we have resources specifically with some of the housing issues where it is causing people, to compel to evict, but then people are saying they're not getting evicted because they won't evict people because of household cleaning?
To the chair, the councilman. So in a case like that, it really is a case-by-case basis. It depends on the conditions of the property, whether it does cause a nuisance to the neighborhood, and the documentation that comes before the court in order to make a sound decision on it.
Through the chair, to the team here, what does that look like when we say it? So say if you're saying no, it's not enough to evict, in that case, what goes from there? Nothing, people just continue to live in, conditions. That's what I'm saying. Is there a standard? Let me ask that. Is there a standard of, I don't know, of household cleaning? Because that's very technically, it can be very subjective. And if you, compare, like, especially when it comes to like the rodents and stuff like that, and that's in particularly like, it's just a lot of stuff going on. And people are just saying it's a non-ending cycle. And so I really want to get a clearer understanding of how are we treating these cases.
To the council, to the chair, to the council. So something that I've had experience in is that specifically maybe with the hoarding case. And if it's not even close to that, but just an issue.
Yes,
just
this is the thing. I know, because a lot of times with the chair, this is, again, people talk about hoarding. Not hoarding,
Okay.
we're talking about
cleanliness.
all ages. And again, I'm going to tell you, like, and I'm going back to a lot of times, what many times I can see is when people are dealing with lack of resources, you are in a decline. A lot of times life is overwhelming. And you can see, like, it's something to see it. When I am in people's homes, you can see it.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? And if you are other people who are living around that, it's hard. And it's like, well, sometimes other people just have to endure it. And I'm just trying to figure out, something has to give in these circumstances where we are, you can meet people where they are, but we can't leave them there. And I think that's part of the challenge when, we have these eviction cases and it's not enough, quote unquote, to evict. But is it also fair to the people who are around, who are someone who's working to try to, better themselves in the environment that they have? Like, it's a lot. And so I want to know, like, what type of support are we able to give to the other residents and tenants around? Because a lot of times it just doesn't seem like there are good options available to guide and direct and support people to improve the lived environment. That's what I'm.
To the chair, to council. So one of the things that we are looking into doing is rehiring back a social worker that can also work with other agencies that we used to have partnerships with, and try to rebuild those relationships, as well as with our housing court specialists going out in the community as well. Prior, whenever the specialists are out, they would also go door to door and kind of check with the community to see other issues that may be arising with the property that's before the court. But in the case of an eviction, the social workers should be able to work with other agencies in order to try to see what we can do to bring this property into compliance or bring this family back to whole.
Okay, so A, do we have resources in this budget that could help with something like that? That's what I'm trying to figure out, because it's not readily identify. And I'm saying one of the things I know is this is a real problem. It may not show up on things. It's a real problem, and we have to better guide people and support people to raise the standards of living, especially in multifamily housing. It is, we gotta find a way to do this.
To the chair, to council, this is something that we can definitely sit down and go over in more discussion with you as well, once we have had our social worker come on board as well and bring in other agencies.
So it's
to
a
try to
social
see-
worker that's
Is in our,
budget.
it is in
Okay.
our budget, yes.
Where's the?
Well, we're budgeted for 55, and the social worker would be one of the 55 that we would be hiring.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So no.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. I have Councilman Bishop and then Councilwoman Gray.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, quickly, I just wanted to congratulate the judge and excited for you to be here with us. You have been to my work club many a times during your rise, and I just want you to put us on your schedule
Absolutely.
to come back so we can give you our whole warm welcome and wish you much success. And any information that you can pass on to our citizens would be much appreciated.
Definitely.
And Mr. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you. And then Councilwoman Gray.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Congratulations, Judge, to the housing court position. But I want to echo something from Councilwoman House questioning that she just brought to your attention about the deplorable conditions or the unclean house that she has seen over the years about her visiting her resident as well as all of us. I just want to hopefully that you consider keeping the housing clinics that the former judge created. She created the housing clinic for landlords. She created a housing clinic for tenants. I attended those classes, those seminars that she created, and she created it and had those classes at the main library downtown. And the clinics was one of them for the housing clinic for landlords. And they had to pay a certain fee to come in, and her clinics last for at least 4 hours. And I attended those clinics, which was exceptionally well. She had other departments, departments as well as other judges that will come to those clinics, and they will facilitate different informations to the landlords so they can understand every aspect of what they need to do to maintain a good property, a great relationship with their tenants because they were responsible for the property. It was a great clinic. She served breakfast. She also served lunch. But it was doable for the landlords to come in there to understand not to get fined. So, and then she had another clinic also for the tenants. The tenants will come in. She will put this information out. She will have a full room of tenants and landlords separate. They were separate clinics, and she had it on the second floor, and the tenants will come in there, and she will have a list of other different departments, and also legal aid will also have their group of people there as well to administrate information on how a tenant and landlord should work together to maintain a better relationship, and also to have the understanding how a landlord should take care of his property and how a tenant should keep the property clean and neat like it's their own property. And those clinics was exceptional. I attended both of them, so whereas when I had my community meetings, those tenants that complained to me will be at my community meeting, and I will assess information to them to go to those clinics, classes, that Judge Monet Scott had at the library. I can't say how frequently she had them, but she had enough whereas the landlord had responsibility as well as the tenant had responsibility. I don't know if you have had a discussion with the CEO of Legal Aid, but they were part of that process because they were there. Some people from Housing Court was there. She had various other folks was there, and just to make the situation better of what we all know what our tenants have been going through, as well as these landlords that need to step up and take care of their property. So you need to invest in those two particular programs which were successful. Because when she came to my community meeting, chair to the judge and her team, she would do clinics at my community meeting, and she would stress the tenants to come to those clinic programs at the library to understand how to be a better tenant and not be in front of her court as as being evicted. So a lot of that stuff helped and panned out where we all need to have a better understanding of the system, and we all need to work together, understand how to live a better quality lifestyle. So to say the least, if you have not discussed that part with the judge by her going out and you coming in, you can discuss that with legal aid, because those two clinics was perfectionists to help the landlord and the tenants to understand how to live together. And I just want to just echo Councilwoman House concern, because that just brought that to my attention, and I believe that's what she's talking about. So thank you, Chair. Thank you, Judge.
Would you like to respond, Your Honor?
Yes, please. To the chair, to the councilwomen. I do intend to continue the clinics. And just to be clear, the clinics actually started with Judge Pianka. That was his brainchild. Ronald O'Leary carried it through, and yes, Judge Scott continued it, and my intention is to continue the clinics. So thank you. Thank you. Will do.
Right. Thank you, Councilwoman Gray. Hearing no other questions from the committee, thank you, Judge Wiltshire. Obviously, this is an area of interest from this body, and we are very eager to collaborate with you. So looking at our order of events, lunch is here. It is 12:12. We are going to take a 33-minute recess so that we can eat some lunch. We will reconvene at 12:45. At that point, we will begin with the Clerk of Courts, and then segue into OEO, Community Development, and then Parks and Recreation. Thank you, everyone.